Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, first public comment. Does anybody have anything to say on non-agenda items? Coolio. We will close the first public comment. We have no public hearings. Reports of committee, the community garden. Please.
I'm Rita Cottrell, 8A Goodwin Street. First of all, I want to thank you all for your support. We would not be as far along as we are now if you hadn't given us your unanimous support. So I just want to reiterate to you how much I am appreciative for that. First thing is that we did get the SMPDC grant for $25,000, which is going to go a long way to doing the infrastructure come next spring. We have been having 2 monthly public meetings, which has given us a lot of input from the community, and that's been really very helpful to us. Last week, Dennis and I finished the conditional use and site review application and presented that last week, and just found out this afternoon that we'll be on the agenda for the 16th. So, fingers crossed. We had a meeting with Jeremy and James a few weeks back, maybe, I don't know, might have even been 6 weeks back, and they encouraged us to look at forming a nonprofit. So we are going through that process now. We've already established a wonderful board. So we have 5 voting members and at least three non-voting advisors. And they've been extremely helpful. I'm really appreciative for that. And I'm in the process of filling out the paperwork, which is a bit daunting, but the paperwork for the nonprofit. So one of the things I would like to ask you tonight is if the town would be willing to pay for the various fees that go with creating the nonprofit.
How much is actually involved?
About $700.
Where would we have money in the budget to do something like that?
I can do a little research and come up with a proposed.
Okay.
Can we use the open grounds fee?
Open space?
Yeah, there we go. The open space fees.
That was a question that came up during open space planning, whether that could be used for maintenance or programming, and that's something I can. It's actually part of my homework I need to do anyways. So.
Okay.
Do we have a specific policy that covers that? Because I think I'm in support of the program, but if we do it, then the next group steps up. Is there something that covers or dictates how we?
Well, this is kind of one of the unique situation because this is something that came through before we, after we did the budget process. So there's nothing in this year's budget to promote this.
Right.
That's why some of the monies we were talking about using was from the TIF money, and using some of that because that can be used on greenways and walks and things like that. So we can look at using some of that money for things like that.
And this would fit under that category?
Well, that's one of the things we have to figure out,
Yeah.
where, that's why we have to figure out where we might be able to have that money in a budget that, was available to us. So,
Okay.
I'd say it's not unhopeful.
Okay, that's great. Just wanted to put it out there as a request.
Yeah, and I don't have, like I said, I'm very supportive of it as well. I'm just concerned that someone else comes in and says, we'd like to form a nonprofit and we want the town to pay for the nonprofit fees. Where do we got to have some sort of parameters. And if it fits into the green space thing, then great, that's our answer. But we should have something as a guidance, because if you decline someone else later, on what grounds?
I hope we don't.
Well, no.
Well, it is, is this again is something that has come through the process through the town. So it's all things that the town is already accepting and looking to fund and things. So I would think that in the future, any other entity that we're doing it would have to go through a similar process, and same as what they did, come before us, originally to get the backing and everything. So now they have the unofficial, okay from the town to pursue these things, So
Right,
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
agree with that. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm in support of it. I think it's great, and I support a nonprofit. That's going to help you. I just want to be careful that somebody else.
So you're volunteering to write the policy?
I didn't know doing that for another one. I'm just saying is I don't,
Yeah,
we
right,
have
yeah,
to have some
right.
we have to have some
Yeah.
parameters around it.
Yeah.
And in the green space thing with this as the garden, if that qualifies, then that's our answer. I just think we should have some boundaries, because what if someone else says, "Hey, I'm going to go to the town. I think this is great," but now the fees are $1,000.
I agree.
We have to have some sort of parameter to say, that
Yep.
for that. That's all I'm saying, because I definitely do agree with you.
And I think that it does fit within the green space. We went through the comprehensive plan and looked at the things that the community garden is going to do, and the goals within the comprehensive plan. There were 14 different areas that actually intersected. So I think that it probably does. But I agree with you. I think there does need to be
Alright, so
something
Jean-
in place.
Are
can
you
look that
able
up.
to use the grant money in the meantime?
That's
Or
what I
is
wondered.
that specific or something else?
We need to ask Mr. James about that.
I don't know if it was specifically enumerated.
We didn't have it in the
Did you have it?
budget.
Maybe you had a miscellaneous expense or something.
Yeah, but it was nowhere near that amount.
You might be
So-
able to pivot and be able to. I mean, it would just be a email and letter to the community resilience program to see if that would be an eligible
Okay.
expense. I'd be surprised if they wouldn't allow us to pivot a little bit of the funding if we had to pull
Yeah.
from. the
I mean,
grant.
and if you did have to do that and there was a shortage of funding, then when the budget process comes back around, we can actually put some funding aside for the community garden specifically. Whether that's 1,000, 5,000,
Okay.
something just something that you can pull from when you need something.
Great, great,
So that's also a possibility as well.
great. Okay, thank you. And just along those lines, I wanted to mention that I have submitted 3 more grant proposals. And they're ones that don't necessarily need to have a nonprofit status, which is good. And then we're doing a crowdfunding campaign starting the 15th of November, so from November 15th to December 15th. And it's through Seed Money Organization, which is a main nonprofit that helps nonprofits get started. And every year they can do this crowdfunding, which is great. They let you use their platform and all of the tools that they have. You just have to set a goal and then meet that goal. And once you meet that goal, then you get put into some sort of a lottery for other grants, which could be up to like $15,000. So there may be money coming in that could help with that. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is that we've had a lot of really wonderful in-kind donations already from the community. So the community is really stepping up and showing their support.
I was going to ask,
Wonderful.
how many people have been coming to your meetings?
The first meeting, I think it was 11 people, and we have not had that many since the first meeting. But in the first meeting, we got a tremendous amount of information.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of came down to about a core of maybe 6 or 7 people,
Okay.
which is really good.
Well,
And-
especially for this time of year. So.
I was just about to say, you'll
Yeah.
probably see an uptick as it gets closer to
As it-
spring
yeah,
and
when
people
you
start
spring,
thinking
yeah.
about
It's
it.
been very, very busy summer. So that's it. Any questions?
No, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it. All right. So I know we have Jeremy and Marie here. You have to wait till the end because you're not quite on the agenda in the right place. So we'll get to you. Presentation, Maine Water Company.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time. And just a reminder, we've been asked, and it's written in our contract, that we meet with the select board 2 times a year. But with that being said, we're always happy to come more than 2 times a year. It was about a year ago that we came before the select board and started to talk about who Maine Water is and what we do. And I told James on the phone today, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with the town. We really enjoyed it, a great community to work with. Every water system's a little different, a little interesting. And we've been really pleased to bring in 2 operators from another water district and make them Maine Water employees to run the program here. And that starts with Joe Dignam. The last time I was here, I talked about all the great things that Joe did, especially in an emergency fashion. And this is Joe, for those who haven't met him. He's a very experienced surface water plant operator. He's also supporting us up in Biddeford as well, so we're really happy to have him. And we also have John Jacobs, who's our new lead operator down here in Berwick. Also came from York Water District. Very experienced in surface water. Has really hit the ground running, working in the community, and really glad to have him here as well. Mickey Hall, our superintendent in Biddeford Saco, he continues to bring a daily support as well. And then indirectly, our other 80 employees also do, even if it's in small ways. So I did provide each of you an operations report. We'll try to provide those every time that we meet with you to give you an update on your water system and where things stand and the work taking place. To start with the customer service and billing update, an important thing to note there is your rate increase that was approved in 2022 and per the tariff was fully implemented fully in September of this year. Those bills have gone out, and we've gotten very little feedback or very little amount of calls related to that. That usually points to good communication, which you've done, letting the community know why it's coming and that it is coming. As we get the calls or concerns, we will share those with you, but so far, not a lot, because I think it truly made sense for the community. The other piece is we are exploring with our team. Last year, if you remember, we talked about normally in our contracts we'll also run the financial function, which is the budgeting, the monthly reporting, the accounts payable, accounts receivable, that financial function we typically take on. We didn't include it in the contract. We didn't include it in the number, the cost of the contract, because we didn't feel totally comfortable that with our transitions in finance we were ready to do that. We built out the team. Our team is really in a good place right now. And so we're exploring what it would take to get there, how long it would take to get there for Berwick, what the start date would look like, and then what the cost is, so we could share that with you for consideration if it makes sense for the town. So more to come on that in the next few months. And then I will turn it over to Joe, since he's really the hands-on person in the water system, and he'll give an update of the work that's going on in your water system.
Thanks, Mike. I don't remember if I've had a chance to meet many of you, but my name is Joe Dignam, and I've been the operator here since Maine Water took over in March. So I've been the guy here running the system all summer long. We recently, as Mike said, we took on John Jacobs, and he's been with us for a few months now, and he's been doing a fantastic job taking over the day-to-day operations here in Berwick. And I'm moving to more of a high-level role in Berwick while John's doing the day-to-day operations here. And I personally think that we've made great strides so far with this water system in the short amount of time that we've been here. I've kind of broken down the operations update into distribution system and the treatment plant to kind of separate out some of the things that we've done. Back in March when we took over, we came into it with several fire hydrants that were out of service, full of water, frozen, broken, what have you. We worked with the fire department to identify those and come up with priorities to repair, which we did. As of now, every fire hydrant in town is operational. We were able to fix all of them actually without having to dig up and replace any, which was a big thing for us. I thought we were going to have to replace probably 10 or 12 of them going into it, but we were able to repair all of them above ground. On top of that, we've painted about a quarter of them. You might notice some of them had fresh paint this year. We'll keep working on that as we get back into warmer weather. We'll keep renewing and repainting those, keep them looking fresh. We increased probably about our water quality monitoring in the system by about 4 times of what was being done before from what we could tell. So we're doing about 4 times as much water quality monitoring in the system to keep track of the trending of the water quality as it moves through the system, so we know we're able to identify problem areas in town. Certain areas need flushing, or you might have to go out there and run a hydrant for a little while just to keep things fresh. There's like areas in the town, like down by the Berwick Iron, that's a big dead end. That area just kind of stagnates after a while. So we've been down there regularly flushing. You'll see us out there. The entire system, we're in the process of flushing right now for the first time since we've taken over. We'll try to do it twice a year if we can until everything is completely clean, but once a year, definitely we'll get the whole system flushed. We're working on renewing a unidirectional flushing plan, so we'll be able to really scour the water mains as they should be. We've been through a few billing cycles so far, and through that, we've identified several issues with either customers' water meters not working, their reading equipment not working, or their meter reads have been off for however long. So we've resolved dozens of issues, either replacing meters, replacing wires or equipment, so we can get accurate reads for everybody. And I think the reception with the people that we've been in contact with has been really positive. We're extremely responsive. We get there within a couple of days and we fix their problem, and we can make sure they're getting billed accurately and they're getting the right service. So over the summer, obviously, we have the edge development going on out here. We've spent a significant amount of time out there. I think it's important to mention that all the water infrastructure for this year has been installed over there. We've spent a significant amount of time inspecting the installations, and we've worked with the contractors. We've built a great relationship with the Great Falls over there. They are now familiar with our specifications, our installation requirements, materials, and everything. So they've been great to work with, and we're there. Anytime water's getting put in the ground, we're on site to oversee that. We've also spent a lot of time over at Blackberry Hill. That development off of, across from the Hussey School there. They're putting in houses over there like crazy. There's a couple of them every 2 or 3 every month. We're installing meters. We've inspected a good amount of the main work over there. A lot of it was done beforehand, but the contractor over there, I personally had a good working relationship with before I came to Maine Water, so I know that they did everything properly beforehand. So on the distribution side, we made great progress. So I feel really good about that. At our treatment plant, we had, coming into it in March, we had some pretty significant issues. We had to, we worked right through the night, several days in a row, just trying to keep the place running. We ended up having to physically excavate the filters with shovels and buckets and clean everything out. And once that was done, we saw great improvement in the plant. So from there, we've been able to keep it running well with proper maintenance, backwashing techniques, and we've used some operational insight from Wright Pierce, and they gave us some suggestions on chemical washing and some other strategies to be able to keep a handle on the manganese. Luckily this year the river stayed high. We had a lot of rain, so we didn't have to deal with any low water in the river. So I don't know how that would affect our operations, but we have a big team that if it were to happen next year, say, I feel confident that we have the strategies in place to be able to get through that. So we've added several pieces of monitoring equipment in the plant. We're still adding equipment now that will help bring the plant, it's not only into compliance, but it'll allow us to monitor all required water quality parameters, even when we're not there. Everything will be continuously monitored. So anytime the plant's running, we'll be able to go back and see exactly what was happening at any given time. We've added several tests to our daily lab work at the plant. You know, we've really made a robust water quality testing regime daily. Every day we're at the plant and we have, you know, we're running tests from the raw water all the way through the process into the finished water, and we're tracking that, and we're making adjustments throughout the day as needed to make sure the water quality is optimal. And the last thing I want to mention about the treatment plant is we're very close to being automated, as we call it in the business, and basically what that means is the plant will run itself even when we're not there. It will start and stop as needed. It will record all water quality parameters that are needed. The pumps will dose. You know, they'll change their dosages based on the water quality parameters that the analyzers are reading. And we're I would say about 2 weeks away from being fully automated. So whether we're here or not, the plant will be running as it should. And part of that is making sure all of the analyzers are maintained, calibrated properly, and we have regular checks, which happen daily while we're here. So I think we've made great progress, and we're continuing to move forward, week by week here. So I think I'll let Mike talk about some the recent bid project, the capital upgrades, and some plans for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
To talk about the future improvements for the plant, the last time that we were here, Dan Flagg from Wright Pierce was here, who's helping us with the future of the plant to build some resiliency when the raw water quality changes. And we had identified after our last emergency in the winter time in March that we really had some short-term improvements that we needed to make much sooner rather than later to keep the plant running. And so, as Dan Flagg at Wright Pierce had shared with you last time, we were going to prepare to take those items, get them to the drinking water program, identify a scope of work, and then get it out to bid. And we've done that. And so, Apex Construction from Somersworth was the low bidder of the project, and for a cost of $448,000 that would be covered by the SRF money. And we would like to move on that pretty quickly. The sooner that we can get that signed and get ready to move on that, we'd be able to order the equipment. With any type of water treatment equipment, just like anything electronic right now, it takes a long time to get. So the sooner that we can get going, the better. And then there's the long-term strategy to prevent what's happened here summer after summer in the dry conditions, with the exception of this very wet summer. As you know, Wright Pierce has taken a close look at the right pre-treatment strategy, and so we're working with them right now to figure out we've got data coming in, we've got scope considerations, we've got cost considerations. And for what does the borough facility really need? We want to focus on what are the needs, what are the wants, because the cost matters. And then also take some time in that discussion to explore what are our options with renewing an interconnection with Somersworth that used to exist. What capabilities do they have to send water our way? How much? And to do a kind of a holistic look at what's the best way to get water from somewhere else. I think the Somersworth connection is worth exploring because it wouldn't only bring you some water during those poor raw water quality experiences, but also redundancy in any type of plant emergency. If your plant goes down, and I'll give an example of that. In Biddeford, Saco, we have an interconnection with a neighboring water district. and it works out really well for both of us. We run into an issue, we can send water to each other, and it's helped us in some jams. So we want to spend some time on that to get that right, and then get some real options and recommendations in front of the select board, so we can make a real informed decision about what you need, what you might want, and then also considering what the cost is to water repairs. So we'll spend some time on that, and we'll keep you in the loop. Like I said, as you can see, it's been a joy having Joe here. And I do want to take some time. If anybody has any questions about the water system, about where we're headed, on what we're doing, please ask now, and of course, reach out anytime.
The bid for upgrades and stuff like that. My only real concern is that do we have enough money to cover that and the already planned upgrades?
Well, we don't have the cost nailed down for the pretreatment upgrades. So, and James, you might be able to help us a little bit on the SRF money. We have enough, obviously, to cover the 484.
Yes.
But finding out what things cost in 2023's market,
Yeah.
and based on the pretreatment study, what the scope would actually look like. We've got to nail that down before I can answer that question. That's what we're working on right now.
Okay. I mean, if it's something that we need, obviously we'd be interested. We just need to see a more detailed bid and more detailed information about what we need to get.
Absolutely.
So, if that's something that you need sooner rather than later, then it's something that we need to see pretty soon as well, so we can actually start looking at it. You know, because right now that's just a number on a page, and we don't know what we're getting. So. That's what we would need to move forward with something like that. We need more detailed information.
Yeah, I totally understand. I think what we would look to do is to come forward with a real defined scope of work, show you what the different considerations were, and probably begin to do some analysis too between a full pretreatment compared to a full, to if we find that there's a real possibility to have an interconnection, it's something you want to consider.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions?
I don't have a question. It's a comment, as I've been dealing with this water issue going on for close to 10 years now, and I have to say it's a real pleasure to work with professionals. As the quality that we had before is I never understood why somebody whose job was to make good drinking water did not do everything in their power to provide good drinking water to the town. And like I said, it's a real pleasure to work with professionals that seem to know what they're doing and looking to get the best water quality we can.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think the same thing is when you originally took over, we kind of thought we would get some feedback from people about, why did you outsource? Why did you do this? And so far, especially over the summer, as you guys have been out, your trucks have been around, people have noticed them. The only thing personally I don't know about anybody else, but I've just heard positive comments. That's it so far, because you always wonder, here it comes, but it's been nothing but positive comments, so people are noticing.
Yeah, I was going to say positive comments and very little comments, which
Yes.
usually that's, silence means it's running well. I think James, I brought up with James back in last August, it was everything was water this and water that.
Yeah.
So, we didn't hear a thing this year about it.
Well, good to hear. We appreciate that.
Big difference in the
appreciate the
range
relationship.
last
absolutely.
August and this August.
Because you had the curiosity when the truck was driving around in the beginning, who's there, what's going on, and you explain to them, and you think, okay,
What's
now
gonna
the comments are going to come, but they didn't. A few contractors in town said the same thing. They've had nothing but positive feedback that I've gotten so far.
And I'm so surprised to hear how many fire hydrants that we had that were not operable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were several.
Yeah.
That obviously was a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah, they mentioned back in March that they were going to have to replace, a dozen or so. But I'm glad to hear that they were all repaired. Cost-wise, that's much better all the way around.
Yeah, it is. It takes a proactive, inspection program too. You got to test them out, make sure they work. So.
And in terms of the painting them and everything, it just brought me back to when I was a kid. And there was a kid. His whole Eagle project was just painting fire hydrants in the town. Like that was what they did.
It's a great project.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so reach out to the Boy Scouts, see if they got anybody who's looking for them to do.
That's a good idea. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
Yes.
it. Appreciate
Thank you
the
for the
time.
very detailed report. We appreciate it. And,
Very nice.
Have a good night.
thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. No unfinished business. Town manager report.
Playground is being installed this week. There's some pictures on the Town of Berwick Facebook page, or stop by, take a look. It's coming together very nicely. We have a bunch of volunteer opportunities. You heard earlier with the community garden. We had a great meeting for open space planning. So that's about preserving a lot of ways going out and acquiring property, partnering with land trust to keep what makes Berwick Berwick. So there's that. The comprehensive plan meets tomorrow. Vision Berwick is always looking for volunteers. So if you're interested, shoot me an email at townmanager@berwickmaine.org and I can help point you in the right direction. Just want to acknowledge Patty and their crew for another extremely well-run election. Huge asset to the community. Also, I think it's been a while. Trunk or Treat was awesome. Trunk or Treat, another great job by Recreation. Looking forward to the holiday parade coming up. I think the tree lighting's the second and the parade's the third, or maybe the first and second. First and second. Thank you. Last thing I have, the Outfalls 7/Great Falls Park project will be going out to bid soon. So that's the Moulton Street project and the establishment of Great Falls Park.
James, isn't there a veterans program this weekend as well?
There is Veterans Day Saturday.
And don't they have a...
They have a ceremony at the Memorial Park at 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
And auditorium if
Yeah,
weather's bad.
yeah. It's supposed to be good weather, just cold.
That completes my report.
Any questions for James? All right. No select board communications. Approval of accounts payable. We have payroll warrant number 26 from October 26, 2023, in the amount of $78,047.43. Payroll warrant number 27 from November 2nd, 2023, in the amount of $77,223.11. Accounts payable warrant number 28 from October 31st, 2023, in the amount of $232,312.81. Well, still got my order. Payroll warrant number 29 from November 9th, 2023, in the amount of $78,448.83. And accounts payable warrant number 30 from November 8th, 2023, in the amount of $1,109,837.41. I make a motion that we pay the bills.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? The town keeps trucking for another 2 weeks.
That's not which direction.
I know.
Terrific.
I'm starting to think.
We have the personnel policy under new business, but we're going to table that for another meeting and hopefully get to that next time. November 7th, 2023 election results. Patty.
Yes, we have results. So the town, so everything passed. I won't go into the nitty gritty. Total votes was 1,705. The state, some things passed here, some didn't. statewide, I don't have the numbers, so I don't know what passed, what didn't. But anyways, the Berwick results are on the website. Total votes cast for state was 1706. The discrepancy of 1 is because 1 absentee ballot did not include the town ballot. So all state reports were filed today. We're working on absentees and putting in new registrations. Couple more weeks of work, and we'll wrap this one up and get geared up for March.
Yay!
I don't imagine there'll be much on the ballot in March.
Is out of the total votes, how
Yeah.
many were absentee or early voting? Do you?
Can you ask me next meeting? No.
No.
Absentees.
I don't need exact, but with a third, a
It was
quarter?
over 200,
Yeah.
so not a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The March election is the primary, so it will be
yes.
it will be a big election.
That ought to be fun.
So absentee ballots available a month before. You can order them up to 3 months in advance.
I just
So-
make a comment too. It seemed like everything was running very smoothly when I stopped in to vote, and I really appreciate the fact that, while I was standing there after I put my thing in, is they go out of their way to make sure that everyone has access to vote, whether it's absentee or in person. I mean, Patty even had a little bell at her table so that if someone had difficulty coming in to vote, it would go off and she would run downstairs to make sure that person could get in and have a location to vote. And I just, I really appreciate that, and I'm sure the town does as well. Thank you.
And an update on the lift. So I got a 1-day approval to run it yesterday, put someone on it, and it wouldn't go anywhere. So we had a tech come out. He worked on it. He was there, I think, till after the polls closed. I don't even remember. But today there is a piece on the lift that is designed to break off if it's in jeopardy of failing, and that happened.
Oh,
So they've ordered the part. I don't think it will be ready for farmers market, unfortunately, but I'll keep everyone updated on that.
When it rains, it pours. Huh?
Yeah, so unfortunately we didn't get to test it yesterday.
Sounds like you did test it and it didn't go
Well,
Failed the
true.
test.
I got the guy off, thank God. I was so nervous.
Luckily, it wasn't halfway up when it failed.
No, I know.
All right.
So back to
Thank you, Patty.
Yes,
Thank you.
Patty, you do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for better.
Yep.
Go home and get some sleep later tonight.
I plan on it.
You know? Yeah. All right. No quick claim deeds, no abatements. Any second public comment? All right. So other business, non-agenda items. Jeremy.
I don't know that it's just.
I can kick it off.
Jeremy.
You can bring Marie with you. That's
I
fine.
can cut off.
Here at James's behest. Hi, I'm Jeremy. Do I need to say my name and address?
Yes,
you go.
Jeremy, I'm on Blackberry Hill Road.
I'm Marie.
Well, you're asked to come today just with the planning boards looking to get the word out about ordinance amendments. And we have a joint meeting penciled in for the 30th. So just trying to brainstorm some ideas on getting the word out and trying to solicit some ideas. And
Yeah, I think for getting the word out, I'd like everything on one page on the website. I mean, even just for now, but because I know input needs to be received by December 15th, I believe, for any
I know.
for any requests for amending the LUO, I believe by the 15th. So even if we just had it all consolidated to one page, like Irish's video under the land use ordinance, it's really hard to find the flyer. It's under more news, and I honestly could not find it for the life of me today. I kept having to go to the link in the Berwick Bi-Monthly and then backtrack. So I think if the link to the flyer and Irish's video went under, like with your video from 3 years ago, then people could have all the information about just how the process works and the land use ordinance itself. Because I certainly didn't know how much you could actually, until I actually got involved, how much input you could have. until we did the sign ordinance, and I was like, oh, wow. So I think just getting those things all in one place for people, and then I'll put it in the Berwick Bi-Monthly, and could hang something up, I'll hang it separate with the Berwick Bi-Monthly in all those locations. But
Excellent. Yeah. So, yeah, it was something I had asked because, and both of you, thank you for everything you guys do, because you are, like, my spot of going for information is Jeremy and Maria, and that's what I have. And especially with, I know next week you have an Envision meeting, tomorrow, because I got to remember my days, is comp plan. We're trying to do something at the end of the month, and I'm like, what not a better way to leverage all the information that you get out to help solicit feedback back.
Yes.
Because, again, I mean, Envision Berwick Facebook page is like literally one of my go-to, like, informational, like what's going on in town. Even for me sitting up here is my easy outlet. And both of you have the touch points in a town to get information. And I think the more information we get, especially even prior to our joint meeting and whatever else, is going to be beneficial to us with, okay, what is important to the residents and what is important to the townspeople that we want to focus on going forward, so that we're not ever up against it where something's happening where, we're trying to force something out that might not be quality or get something out in front of people that might not be done with our due diligence prior to. So
Right. And that LUO request for input did go out in this one, and kind of the cool thing about it going out in the MailChimp is, like, I can look, I haven't actually checked yet, but I can look back and see how many people actually click the link to read the flyer.
Oh, excellent.
So just to see how many people are actually engaging in that topic.
Anything else from anybody? I mean, that was just, I just know,
In addition to talking about how we can get the word out about the planning board's interest in public input, we're also talking about agenda items I think a really important item that I would like to see the planning board, the select board, and Envision Berwick consider is something that I've been talking to James about, I've been talking to Terry about, I've been talking to probably every department head, talking their ear off a little bit about it, which is messaging and our website and what we want the future, like the comp plan, thinking about how we want to think about a future. And it's hard. Like, the internet 30 years ago didn't exist, so it's hard to imagine how we want our messaging and our information to exist going forward. But I think it's an important conversation to have, and I think we have all, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I will say for me personally, I shouldn't say we all. For me personally, I find that I have frustration with Facebook, which seems to be the kind of town square of the digital world, because you don't really have control over it. As somebody who's posting stuff, we don't know how they are feeding it to eyeballs. And as a consumer of that information, I don't know how it's deciding the percentage of ads to show me versus, information about the town versus random cat videos. And I would love to think that there is a future where we can take that control back. And it's something that I've done some research to see if there are other towns or who else is thinking like this? I'm not finding a ton, and I'd hate to think that Berwick could be on the very cutting edge of forward thinking in some really abstract way, because this is really abstract stuff. But I think it's important to think about, and then perhaps more solutions will come along as we're having these conversations. And we can say, aha, look, Kellogg's has started to handle talking to the public this way. And maybe that's, Kellogg's is a bad example, but so it may not be a town. It may not be, we don't know, but I just feel like the whole world is frustrated with the way Facebook has absorbed our attention and our lack of control over that. We do have a website. We do have a lot of folks who are providing information, like VCM and Terry, and a lot of folks who are desirous of that information. But it is hard to have it so elusive. And I would love to find a way to think about a future where it is less.
The reality is you're not going to be able to predict the future when it comes to that stuff. In 2006 or whatever, when they invented Facebook, nobody thought there would be. You couldn't even get on Facebook unless you were a student at university. You had to have a university email to get onto Facebook.
Yes.
So the idea that now we have a town Facebook page, which is unofficial, by the way, and that's where most people tend to go for their information, on the town. They don't go to the website, But in 10 years, it's probably not going to be Facebook because, people are going to be aged out of it. It's probably not going to be TikTok or Instagram either. It's probably something that hasn't been invented yet.
Or you have the Elon Musk implant,
right?
Yeah.
It could be something completely different. We might not even have the internet the way it is today. It's impossible to predict. And I don't care for Facebook that much either. I basically go there to see what the older people in my family are doing because that's what people use Facebook for, And so I agree with your frustration. I don't particularly want people getting their information on Facebook either because about a third of the time it's the wrong information on top of it. It's people posting what they think is happening and they don't have a clue. And I would love for our website, which is something that we can control, to be more central to how we disseminate information.
Or streamlined.
The problem is, again, you got to get people to go to the website, which is borderline impossible. People want to go where they're already going to go. And two is somebody has to be on top of that, updating it regularly, responding to questions, responding to comments. And, people do that for free, and he's already got enough to do. He doesn't have time to sit there on the Berwick website answering every question that pops up. So it's tricky. I agree with you though. In spirit, I would love to see that be more of I would like our town center to be our town center. To be the. I'd also love to see more people come to these meetings and learn more about what's going on in the town. And I'd love to see people participate in the committees more. I had a person 2 weeks ago come to my house to do pictures for my daughter, and she was like, "Oh, you work for the town?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "What can I do?" It's like, go see Jeremy at Division Berwick. He'd love to have your help and do stuff. You can do that stuff there, and there's community garden, and there's the library. There are all these things that you can do if you're interested. And to your point, everybody's input is welcome to the land use ordinance, to the town policies, to the personnel policy, everything. Come talk to us about it. Your input is desperately wanted. If you have something to tell us, let us know, because it's your town, not just our town. So, I definitely would love to see that as well. I would love to see everybody go to berwick.com, berwickmaine.com, first thing every day or whatever.
This whole conversation brings up something that we've talked about for quite a few years in the budget process is it time to hire a communications person for the town? We've discussed it several times. We have these disparate groups trying to get everything out there, and we do need a central hub. BCM can't do that because they're too busy doing all the videos and posting and things like that. So it needs to be somebody else in a position that can do that. So that's something we're going to have to look at.
Today they call them social media managers, but yes, absolutely. Somebody who runs communications, who answers questions for everybody from the phone to the internet to letters. I don't know who writes letters to towns, but they did. That would be something that would be could have benefit if the town wanted to approve that kind of expenditure.
It's all part of a conversation that I think is a really valuable one for us all to be having, and should definitely be on the agenda for this meeting.
No, and I agree, and again, I appreciate James for asking you, and I appreciate both of you coming down, and I think that's really just kind of getting that ball starting to roll. Is there's many groups of volunteers that spend hours, countless hours, both of you specifically, that I can think of that are trying to do the right thing for the town and trying to get the right information. And like Marie said, it's here, 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 and here, and how do we find that? And any way that we can leverage feedback back to us or to the planning board or to the comp plan, even though I keep trying to get people to volunteer over there, because I know how infrequent I make my meetings. I will be there tomorrow, finally, on it. So, it's difficult, and I don't have the answer, but any way that we can get answers or anything that we can start thinking about it, I think it will just help streamline things in the future and help us position ourselves to be better or have that vision and have that message be consistent across the board, whatever that might look like. You know.
Anything else? Thank you guys. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right. Does anybody else have any other business non-agenda items to bring up?
Are we sticking with the 30th? Or are we going to try to look at the 29th?
I thought we were going to counter the 29th.
Yeah.
Do you know if planning or Envision could possibly do the 29th? Because Linda's got conflicts on the 30th.
Yeah, the 30th is out.
Oh, 29th. I can look into it. The
Just to
Wednesday,
see.
29th.
29th would be better
I
for
can
me
do
as
either
well.
the 28th or the 29th. The 30th is the only one that's out.
But
But I
you
can
guys-
she
do
can't do the
I can
28th.
All right, we'll try the 29th.
So take a look
Try
at
to split
that.
the middle.
Yeah.
I just want
to
to
see
say,
whatever we can get the most people at would be.
Patty, great job on the election as always. Just wanted to say it again. You can't say it enough. You do a great job, and
It's a lot of work.
you got to do it like 3 times a year. So keep up the good work. We'll support you any way we can. Trunk or treat was great. I was there. Other people were there too, and people were there. The line went on forever. I'm glad I got there earlier than later. There were people in line into the darkness, apparently.
Oh, there was.
Yeah,
It was
so
great.
I hope nobody ran out of candy. There would been some sort
They
of riot.
did. Some people did.
Some did, but the whole thing timed out pretty much
Right.
right at where people needed to be.
Yeah.
So it seemed pretty well.
It's one of those things you don't ever want to have a too little candy when you're doing something like that, and people are waiting for hours.
Well, in this year, what I heard was there were people from some of the surrounding towns that had unfortunately canceled
Yeah.
with what was going on, and this was their outlet. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard there are
Our
people
team.
from Kittery and
Yes.
Elliott
Yeah.
and all around coming in.
Lebanon, North
So-
Berwick.
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good fun.
they-
Well,
It's all
I-
good fun.
Actually, I had
Must be our
heard that
Facebook post.
somebody in Sanford told me that they wanted to do trunk or treat and they canceled it on them, so they couldn't go. They were like supposed to do like a church trunk or treat and they couldn't do it.
So,
Um,
and they're already working on
Just
next
remind
year's.
folks too again about the veterans.
Yes,
Memorial.
Veterans Memorial on Saturday, 11 o'clock. I always try to make it, and I always have something come up. But, but they're out there,
They do a
rain or
great
shine,
job.
usually doing it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second it?
All those in favor? Good night.
Patty said she wanted us to extend the meeting for another hour.